Hey, folks, welcome to the first stream of the year. I'm very thrilled to be here with you. And I've told my wife that I would try to do a stream almost every single day of the entire year and at least do something and add a little bit of value to my social media following. I am Dale Jackson. If you do not know me, I am a radio talk show host. And you can hear me on one of two stations, one in Alabama on WVNN in Huntsville and one in Tennessee on Chattanooga's 102.3 Talk Radio, 102.3 The Talk Monster. And those platforms have given me great opportunities to interact with listeners, and it's given me a pretty big social media following. And we'll go through some of those comments that we've received over the last couple of weeks, or maybe, excuse me, I got one post I want to take a look at, and we'll look at some of those comments there. But before we do that, I do have to say this. You see behind me a new setup. I've changed things up just a little bit in my setup, but you'll see this Gator helmet over here. And I will tell you this right now. Watching two SEC teams take some brutal beatings in the college football playoff has made me feel a little bit better that the Gators are not there. I was shocked to see Ole Miss beat Georgia. Not going to lie and say I didn't want it to happen because I'm a Gator, so of course not a big fan of Georgia. But that ending was relatively brutal, and not a fun experience for Georgia fans, I am sure. In fact, I know it wasn't a fun experience for Georgia fans because I talked to one of them. I made the mistake of texting them at the end of that game, and they were not too happy to hear from me. But at least that game was close. The game between Alabama and Indiana, I was shocked. Last night I was out having a conversation with a bunch of people in Alabama talking about that game. And I and they were pretty sure that this thing was going to be an Alabama win. And, lots of people were joking about their quarterback and probably the most least known Heisman winner that's ever been. And he goes out there and he still just absolutely obliterates them. Just an obliteration, just a complete obliteration. It's pretty sad to see that. I thought Alabama was really going to get an opportunity to go far here, but that is not the case, my friends. That is not the case at all. And I got to be honest with you, it shocked me. But there were two things that were sad about this. One is this, and this is when I knew it was over. I mean, I knew it was over when we all saw this. This thing where Alabama kicks a field goal. They're down 24 points at this point, and they kick this field goal. Why did they do this? Why did they not go for it? You need points, and you need big points. And really, you should have gone for it and then gone for two. They were just 24 to nothing. And it was not a good they should have gone for it here. I'm kind of shocked that they didn't. But, this is what happens here. And talk of Kalen DeBoer leaving, we're not going to hear it again. That talk is over. But, man, there are going to be a lot of people that wished he did.
To get Alabama on the board here. Final 3 minutes of the third quarter. Alabama drove it 65 yards to get Alabama.
It took the field goal. I thought that was shocking. What else was shocking is Kirk Herbstreit talking about this. I was shocked to hear some of this. It was wild. It really was. Listen to Kirk Herbstreit talk about these guys.
Football priority.
Black just continues to do what he's done all season long. Bounce off people.
It feels like Alabama, it's just strange to see. They're just existing. They're just out there. Nobody's penetrating. Nobody's playing with any fire. It's almost like they feel defeated. Like there's nothing we can do. Nobody's making an impact player. Not even trying to hands on their hips. They're just kind of out there.
Well, there's serious urgency here. They better be more than just existing at the moment. Because if Indiana builds on this lead, another potentially time-consuming drive is Hemby.
Just talking bad about him. Just talking bad about it. It's just really, really bad here. It's pretty upsetting here. Pretty upsetting. And I'll tell you, I'm not happy to see it. I'm not happy to see that here with Alabama. I thought they would put in a better effort than they did. Sorry about the little mess up there on the audio and video because I forgot to click it. But hey, first day of the new year, so we'll be fine with that. I do want to talk about some stuff that actually matters, and I thought this was very funny. We all know and we've heard the stories about Elon Musk and his, I almost did it, which you should not do, where he stood and he sort of made a hand gesture. Okay, he made a hand gesture, and I got to tell you, this hand gesture situation, not great. But now Zoran Mondani doing the same thing. Check this out. You have Elon Musk in the famous arm gesture, and now you have Zoran Mondani doing the same thing.
My heart goes out to you. It is thank.
Now, I went and looked, and I tried to see if I could find anything where you had a situation where they covered this in the same way they covered the situation with Elon Musk. Nowhere. It is absolutely nowhere to be found. It is as if it has not happened, and I think they're probably going to do their best to not talk about it because they made such a big deal about Elon Musk that you would think that maybe they'd be interested in doing the same thing about Mondani, but nope, they're not going to do that because they have to full on protect him in every possible way because he has one thing missing from the infinity gauntlet of wokeness. Anyone know what it is? He's a Muslim. He's a liberal. He's an ethnic minority. What is it? What is he missing? He's straight. That is it. If he was not straight, boy oh boy, they would have everything there for him. But they're still going to get out there and try to protect him as best as they possibly can, and they're going to try their best to make him into someone that is definitely going to be a factor in the future. Who knows if they're going to be able to make that happen? I truly don't think that they are going to be able to make that happen, but they are going to try their best to make him that guy. And this whole thing with the one-arm salute here, the Hitler salute, if you will, which again, as much as I want to describe it and maybe even imitate it, got to be smarter than that, guys. You got to be smarter than that. You cannot be doing that kind of thing because they got to defend him. So there's some other people here they have to defend as well. And it is, of course, the Somali fraudsters that we have seen. And we have watched these guys over and over and over again. It kind of find themselves in a situation where they cannot get out there and tell the truth about what's going on in their lives. They cannot tell the truth about what's happening with these daycares either. And you, of course, are seeing this here pretty clearly with the way they've been covering this situation now that you have Nick Shirley here going out and exposing some of this. Now, you could make the argument. You could legitimately make the argument not every single one of these situations is a situation where there is actual fraud going on. You could make that argument. But let's just be real about it. More likely than not, a vast majority of these are committing some form of fraud here in the way this is being done. But CNN cannot allow this. They have to make it look as if there is something nefarious here going on. And they're not very good at it, but boy, are they trying.
Done enough. I mean, they would say, look, these fraud cases have been going on, but they've already done like 80 indictments. The cases have been going on, for years.
And why did I show up one day in Minnesota and go to all these daycares, no children, they're receiving millions of dollars. We uncovered nearly $110 million in fraud in one day.
How do you know that all the allegations that you're making are true?
How do I know that they're true? Well, we showed you guys what was happening, and then you guys can go ahead and make your own analysis.
We're coming so we can make our own analysis. Are you 100% sure you're true?
Yeah, I am 100% sure I'm true.
CNN is looking into Shirley's claims.
Hi, my name's Whitney Wild. I'm a correspondent for CNN.
We reached out to several of the daycares featured in the now viral video. Only one daycare facility answered and said they are a legitimate business.
Have you seen the videos, purporting that some of these daycares don't have kids inside?
Minnesota Republicans say despite the new focus from the Trump administration, they have been sounding the alarm on fraud for years.
Done enough. I mean,
I do love that they called all of them. One responded and said, yes, we're a legit business. And that is her basis here for saying that his reporting isn't good enough. That is some A-plus reporting and very, very impressive on her part. And I appreciate her doing the hard work of going after the guy uncovering the fraud. And again, I think it would be fair to say that there's more likely than not that not every single one of these businesses that he confronted is fraudulent. I mean, you could probably say, I'm not even saying that's true. It could possibly be that they are all fraudulent, but they won't even give him the benefit of the doubt of the idea that it could quite possibly be that a lot of them are fraudulent and maybe he casts too wide of a net. No, they have to pretend that there is no way in hell that anything he's doing is fraudulent. So again, the media goes out not to do the job that they should be doing, but to go after the people who are raising the alarm. And you saw this on CNN on some of their commentary shows as well, not just their reporters who call a bunch of daycares. Only one calls back and says, we're a legitimate business, and then they leave it at that. Instead, you have them fighting with Scott Jennings because he lays out that Tim Walz said that this is an example of white supremacy looking into this.
It's Democrats who have put Somali diaspora in Minneapolis at the center of their party and their state's politics. It's a small portion of the population. There is a bunch of fraud that goes on. And even Tim Walz has claimed that any investigation of this fraud is akin to white supremacy,
No,
which is
he
a
hasn't.
ridiculous
He has not
allegation.
claimed that. He has not said that.
He has said that.
He has not said that.
This is what happens when your own federal government wages war against you. This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat. And this is what happens when they no longer hide the idea of white supremacy, the idea of white supremacy, the idea of white supremacy, the idea of white supremacy.
Now that's Scott Jennings' edit, but it's perfectly fine because it lays out exactly what he was talking about. And they, of course, insist that this never happened. They're wrong. It did happen. He did make it clear. And as I said before, they're more interested in taking down the people who are complaining about this than the people who are actually breaking the law. And this is always the framing these things take, instead of the framing they should take of, hey, these are the people doing the bad thing, and we should be mad at them. Instead, we're mad at the people who are exposing it. And for what reason? I can't tell you that answer. I can't tell you the answer and why they've decided to go down this path, but they have decided to go down this path. They have decided that they need to defend the bad guys, because they always do. Think about every aspect of this. Since Donald Trump came on the scene, if Donald Trump is against it, they are for it. Iranians, they're for it. No question about it. They were mad we bombed Iran. Donald Trump clearly took the side of the Israelis. They obviously wanted to take the side of the Palestinians. And in that case, Hamas. Illegal immigrants, drug boats out of Venezuela, fraudsters in Minneapolis. At every single turn, the bad guys are treated like the good guys, and the good guys are attacked by the media. They have decided that is the angle they are always going to take every single time, and this is absolutely no different. Their desire to protect the people committing fraud should not come as a surprise to us. It is exactly what they've always been doing. And they have made it very clear that that's what they're going to do leading up to the 2026 midterms. And I will just say this. This is the issue. This is the issue. There's a new report out. I think it was the New York Post that had it. Excuse me if that's not the case. There was a new report out saying that crime is down in 2025. Chicago's bragging about their lack of murders, which is good. Great. Fantastic. Wonderful. That is fantastic stuff there. But why is that happening? Well, it's simple. We have closed the border. We have showed we will enforce the law. Bad guys have self-deported or have been arrested. These are things that are actually happening. And because those things are actually happening, we are now starting to see a bunch of people commit less crime. That's good. That's good. These are good things to see. But you'll see, we're going to find out that there are going to be people complaining about that too, and suggesting it has nothing to do with, putting out 1 million people, deporting people, doing all these things, self-deportation, which I think they said was up 2 million at this point. So you have self-deportations, you have forceful deportations, you have a bunch of people, and people won't like this, but you have a bunch of people who are legitimately fearful, and this is true, fearful of the federal government coming after them. And they're probably acting better, even illegals that are here. So all these different things play into this, and it should be applauded. We should applaud Chicago for having less murders. We should applaud the country for having less murders, but we should acknowledge the reason that is. The border has been sealed. I mean, that's the truth. Illegal entry is down significantly. We are at net migration, a net negative migration. And all of that will lead to less people in the underclass, and that will lead to less criminals. That's just a simple fact. A lot of people won't want to believe that, will want to make the problem how they're being arrested and all these other things. And to me, I don't think that that's the point. But back to CNN constantly taking the side of the bad guys, of the villains. They're at it again, and it was predicted, and it was predictable.
Right now, Republican lawmakers are asking Minnesota's Democratic Governor Tim Walz to resign after renewed focus on a state fraud investigation. A viral YouTube video by a creator who has shared anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim videos in the past.
Does that matter? I mean, serious question here. It's a serious question. It's a real serious question here. Maybe he did share anti-immigrant and anti-Muslim videos. Are you not allowed to have those perspectives? Are you not allowed to have anti-immigrant perspectives? Are you not allowed to have anti-Muslim perspectives? And I'd like to know what those anti-Muslim is he against Sharia law, or is he just against Muslims existing? And I live in Alabama, and I can tell you a very specific instance where I had a problem with some of the people who were talking about some of the issues involving a Muslim school moving to a community. And I think it was completely inappropriate. I thought it was completely inappropriate. We saw people complaining about things like traffic and stuff like that. That's fine. But suggesting that, Sharia law was coming there because a Muslim school was coming there is completely out of control and wrong. But what are we actually talking about? Well, they don't want to get into that. They just want to smear him, of course. Let's continue.
Put a major national spotlight on the investigation. The video claims Somali-run child care centers in Minnesota are committing widespread fraud and provides limited evidence to support the allegations. It was a video that was amplified by Vice President J.D. Vance, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Elon Musk. Now, the FBI and DHS say they are surging resources into Minnesota, including at those child care centers. CNN's Whitney Wild is in Minneapolis. And Whitney, what are you hearing from officials there?
Now, you've already seen this woman. Okay, keep that in mind. You've already seen her. And you've seen her show up and make the argument that she called a bunch of these people. And one of them answered and said they're legit, so it's legit. So this may be from that report.
Well, there's one agency saying basically today that they are concerned about some of the tactics that the video shows, but at the same time, they take all allegations of fraud seriously. This has been a problem in...
I mean, are journalists really against journalism at this point? Are they? I mean, think about that for a second, just that question. Think about the question that how this is being framed. They're questioning the tactics. They're questioning the tactics. So are you telling me that journalists won't go to the door of businesses, knock on those doors, and ask those businesses questions? Like, you're against that as a member of the media? You think that's a bad tactic? It's an interesting take, journalists against journalism, sure.
Minnesota for many, many years. You can look it up yourself. There are stories about, alleged fraud at daycares stretching as far back as 2015. There were a round of indictments back then. Fraud continues to simply plague the Minneapolis area and Minnesota at large. There have been, in recent years, Phil, dozens of indictments, at least 80 for various types of fraud, COVID relief fraud, other types of housing fraud, and federal officials basically call this like an ongoing fraud investigation. If you look, the latest press release from the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Minnesota says 6 more indictments in this ongoing fraud investigation. So this has been going on for quite some time. Local news has been all over this, producing award-winning series on fraud issues in Minnesota. But even still, it wasn't until, as you point out, that video that this fraud issue in Minnesota really exploded. I mean, that video for Nick Shirley has more than 115 million views. It has now caught the attention of very powerful voices in America.
So where was CNN on this? I mean, I get it. They're talking about the idea that it's been going on, local journalists, all sorts of stuff. How come you guys weren't on top of this? Is it because most of the people that have been indicted and convicted are Somalis? I think that's exactly what it is. this.
Here in Minnesota, we are asking leaders what is going on and what the impact of that video has. So here's our interview with Speaker Lisa DeMuth. She is a Republican, and explained to us why it is so important for a national spotlight to be shined here on Minnesota.
They're state dollars, but a lot of these programs have federal dollars in them too. So
my decoy went up, and
so that clip cuts, and it cuts to another investigation in another state, and more frauds being uncovered all the time. Listen to this.
you could hear people rustling around on the other side of the ring camera as if they were listening to her but not responding.
Kristen Magnuson and I also went to this house right after you guys to see if we get the same response, and we sort of did. We saw the same thing, the windows with vinyl covering, can't see inside. We ring the doorbell, but actually somebody responds to us. Hey, is this Dagash Family Childcare?
No.
It's not Dagash Family Childcare.
No.
Okay, what's the name of the childcare here? I ask, has this place ever been a childcare? The woman says no. But obviously Washington state records tell a completely different story.
Yeah, this specific ad.
And you're going to see a lot of this. There's going to be a lot of this from different states. We're already seeing it here. These two have been cut together. But it's true. It's true that as you look at this, you will see this grow and grow and grow, and it's wild.
Address is locked into Washington state records as a daycare.
Yeah.
It's locked into like the Google paid for the business.
Yep.
Is this address, right?
And it's up to date with licensing. The numbers here.
Okay, so we just visited Dagash Family Childcare. This address was confirmed online. They get $23,260 in October.
They have made $210,000 just this year.
And how many kids again is this place registered for?
Oh, that's the fun part. 3
kids.
So this place are licensed for 9 children.
Okay, this place is licensed for 9,
but they have 6 slots available.
Right.
Which means they only have 3 kids, and they've raked in $210,000 in tax money.
And neighbors say when we ask them, have you ever seen kids come out of this place?
Not a single one. Not a single one. So this woman comes up. The people who live there actually texted her as a neighbor and asked her to confront us because they thought we were ICE. So the next question is, are they illegal immigrants? Why are they so concerned about ICE?
Jeez, that's another rabbit trail.
A total other rabbit hole. But what she said is, I have seen no evidence that there is a daycare there.
And that's really it. And even if there was a daycare there, why are they doing $210,000 a year for 9? Let's say they had all 9 kids. See, the system, I mean, look, and I've been paying for daycare for years, okay? My kid goes to a private school as well, and we don't pay anywhere close to that. If you had 9 kids spread it out for 12 months, you wouldn't get even close to this, okay, for the cost for 9 kids. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It really is over the top.
She actually said, my husband and I were wondering how those people afford that house, because she said the rent was $3,500 a month.
I haven't seen kids over there.
Okay, interesting.
I've seen one child over there, like when they have like family things.
Right, yeah.
But no, I have not seen any evidence of daycare activity there.
On 9/11/2025, they came in and they inspected. They found multiple long-term, short-term, serious, and immediate risks to children. That's in September. In September, they were awarded $22,000.
And that's not like they came in and they investigated this house as a daycare. They're running at-home daycares. Then they find a bunch of problems and they just let it continue.
So I reached out to the Washington State Department of Children, Youth, and Families, right? Again, this is the agency that essentially licenses, does oversight, does the inspections. I have yet to hear back. That's now in the state of Washington.
Yes.
What is the state of Washington's accountability practices now? If there are violations, how much time do they have to correct course? Does funding get stopped? These are questions that still need to be answered. What I want to emphasize, though, especially in our reporting, is that we're not alleging that every single one of these Somali-run daycares are engaged in fraudulent activity.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we went to some today that seemed totally legitimate.
Right, and the vast majority may be legit, but the ones that we've investigated and the list that we still have that needs to be investigated, there are concerning signs. We can't do this alone. There are dozens of places we need to hit up. We've just scratched the surface here in Washington State. A lot of these potential problematic Somali daycares are in South King County.
And they obviously, the word has gone out on these daycares and in this community that this is a way to get money from the government. Run a daycare, take care of your own kids, maybe? I mean, when you're talking about this, it's like, what is the scam? That's the question people are going to be asking. What exactly is the scam here? And there are a lot of questions about that, and you're starting to see that. Now, I had mentioned on the list there that I was going to talk about some of the comments we had seen coming up about this. And we'll go to that video's comments on my Facebook page, facebook.com/The Dale Jackson. And I want you to just look at some of the stuff that's being said here. We'll just pick some of these comments here. And most of these streams will not take place at 11 o'clock at night. I was watching football earlier, which is why I didn't do it earlier. But most of these streams will not come out at 11 o'clock at night. But anyway, listen. First comment from Jason. Some podcaster demands to be allowed onto private property, and then he's told no. Suddenly there's a conspiracy. And he argues that what happened here wasn't any finding of fraud. It was instead, this is sort of another thing we've been seeing out there online, is that you're finding that, you know, there were kids in there. They just didn't want to let these people in. Or the daycares weren't open, even though the signs said that they were. Now, why are they defending this fraud? I have absolutely no idea. Why does Jason feel the need to come in and defend this instead of saying, hey, you know, these people should prove that this is legit? Let's let the investigation take place. No, he's going after the podcaster for saying the thing. Later on down the list, he says, why is he turning this evidence over to authority if he's so certain of validity? Let me guess, they're part of the conspiracy. Well, the authorities are investigating. Why are you pretending that that's not the case? I mean, he's clearly turning this stuff over, and clearly they're looking into it. And Jason continues, even though he can see with his own eyes, there is no evidence they're not daycare centers. The specific daycare center this podcaster wanted to harass isn't going to just let some random person come in, and they don't have to. Right, so if a journalist shows up at a daycare, and a journalist says, hey, do you guys have some kids here? Is this a daycare? They should say, no, it's not. And that's fine by Jason. Of course it's not fine by Jason. He would be very upset if they did that. He says, yeah, I just need to present it. And if he doesn't, then his claims are baseless, and there's channels he can use to present claims. But instead, he wants to make accusations to draw attention to himself. That's not how this works. If you make a claim and back it up, that's how it works. It's not up to anyone to prove him wrong. He has to prove that his claim is true. Logic demands it. Then why in the video that we watched earlier did we see a CNN reporter suggesting that he was responsible and he has to say everything that happened, lay it all out, and prove it to the authorities? Well, she can just say, well, I mean, who knows what these things actually are? Well, why doesn't she go investigate it? Why doesn't she go down that path? And she's not interested in doing that. Not interested in doing that at all. And if you scroll down, you'll find stuff like this where people are, and let's just put it this way, I'm going to say being disingenuous. Tony here says, no one has defended illegal immigrants, thus is a lie. People have demanded fairness and due process for people given temporary status to apply. Congress, at Trump's bidding, prevented there being a people process. Okay. Almost all people rounded up had status and were working, adding value. None of that's true. A new study out this week showed that 7 in 10 had committed some crime beyond just being here illegal, which itself is a crime. So keep that part in mind. They can complain and say it's a civil process until they're blue in the face. It is an argument they like to make, but it's not a compelling one by any stretch. As for Trump going in and killing the deal, this comes up a lot. That Donald Trump is the one that spiked the process. And Yes, he did. And guess what? He won an election for doing that. Okay, I mean, it goes back. Same thing with the Mitch McConnell stuff in the past. Oh, Mitch McConnell kept, what was it? I don't even remember what his name is. Merrick Garland from being put on the Supreme Court. And it's just so wrong that happened. And, you know, people should hold him responsible. They did. They rewarded him by giving Donald Trump a Supreme Court justice. I mean, that's what happened. It worked. Same thing here. Same exact thing there. And the reason they did that isn't because there was like some great process here that everyone was going to be thrilled with. That is not what it was. The reason why they stopped it is because the process wasn't good enough. The process wasn't good enough. The process was bad. That's why Donald Trump killed it, because it would have let more people in, and that is not what the American people wanted. So this is kind of ridiculous stuff here. Moving on, Linda says, Shirley is a fraud, LMAO. Emails were leaked between Lindell, that'd be Mike Lindell and this kid. Lindell and him were discussing how they could get Lindell elected. Shirley says, let's do a thing on daycare fraud. Then you can come in and say, hey, you're going to crack down on daycare fraud. Shirley is a damn fraud, and I hope Lindell and this kid get sued for discrimination, which is not a thing. They only went to Somali daycares. They went to the ones where they believe fraud was happening. And this is another weird thing. Mike Lindell is never going to be anything. He's not going to be a governor. He's not going to be a senator. He's not going to be any of that stuff. Forget about him. Just because they came up with a good idea and they talked about it, and then that idea bore fruit, doesn't mean anything except they were on to something. They were smart. Okay? So if there are other daycares doing this, then we should go after them as well. Okay? Then do that. Go after these other daycares. Nobody's going to... I mean, do you believe that if you went to Bob Smith's house and they said they had 35 people there and it was an illegal daycare, or excuse me, a fraudulent daycare, that what Republicans would be like, no, it's cool. It's Bob Smith. He's a white guy. No, nobody would do that. It's ridiculous nonsense. I mean, it's silly stuff that these people buy into because they don't want to accept what is actually happening. There's a good comment here. Kind of reminds you of the Acorn video, which turned out to be a complete fraud. It wasn't a complete fraud. Same exact thing happened. The people went in there and they were fake, which is the point. It was an undercover operation. And the people that worked there helped them do stuff they shouldn't have been helping them do. Just because nothing happened, and I believe something happened to the individual who was involved in that, but forget about that. Just because they expose something that you don't like doesn't mean that it was a fraud. Acorn was doing stuff they weren't supposed to be doing with taxpayer money, and they are now shut down. So I'm sorry, you're wrong. And you can continue down this if you want, but I think the people coming in and defending the individuals who are doing stuff that is bad are brilliant, and I want to see more of it. I want to see them defending these people. I want them to make it their entire political philosophy that they are going to go out and make the argument that we should allow fraud, or at least not investigate it. Defend Somali fraudsters. Make that your argument. This is going to get Republicans to win the midterms. This is the issue. David writes this fruit was in, and by the way, it's very nice. This fruit, again, you always love the tolerant left. This fruit was in bed with the repulsive party to make this video. So what? I mean, just again, ask yourself this question. So what? Let's say that he was in bed with a repulsive party. Does it make it less true? And the answer to that is no. It doesn't make it any less true. Doesn't make it any less true at all. So yeah, you could argue that if you want, but I don't care. James writes this: love watching the right lurching. Epstein has destroyed you. All the right-wing freaks and podcasters can't save you. You know, it's funny you mentioned Epstein here. Because I think that's kind of funny. The Epstein stuff is interesting. Because if you go and you look at the Epstein stuff that the people on the left believe, I believe it was Donald Trump is beheading babies and throwing them in Lake Michigan, right? Like that was one that you guys believed, right? Like that's one of the arguments that they think are in the Epstein files that show Donald Trump to be like, a child molesting, pedophile, murderer, baby murderer at this point. And that's because some crazy person called in a tip to the FBI right before the 2020 election. That's where that comes from. But you don't believe when someone has a video showing a bunch of people saying, daycare, no daycare here. You think that's a scam? You think that's a scam? Okay, good. Keep that up. Keep that up, and please keep doing that. And because I think it is fantastic. And again, Linda McMahon is back in here making the same argument. Go away, Lindell. Your emails with Shirley have been exposed. Like, they believe that the guy had an email sent to Mike Lindell that all of a sudden nothing that has happened here matters. Like, nothing matters because of that. I just don't understand why they want to do that. Why do they want to defend bad people just because the people exposing them are someone they disagree with politically? Like, I hope they continue it. I'm a fan of this. I want to see more of this. I want to see these people make the arguments that they're making right now. And those arguments are very clearly, this is from the, what do they call it? The poison fruit, right? The fruit from the poison tree, I guess would be the way to say it. And therefore, because they don't like Shirley and they don't like Lindell, that they can then make the argument that it doesn't matter. So what they have found has absolutely nothing to do with anything. I mean, come on. Lowell Morrison says, including Melania Trump, whose Epstein's visa was forged. I don't know. It's intended for scientists, not models or nude models. So the argument here is that Melania Trump is an illegal immigrant. Can I say this? Then deport her. Find that and go do that. Go find that out and get her deported. I don't care. Why would I care about that? Now, again, you're suggesting she's connected to the Epstein thing. That's a lie. Okay, so congratulations to you on that one. David Gregory says, this anti-Muslim, anti-immigrant YouTuber, you mean pissed off American? I fixed that for you, CNN piece of blank. Yeah, he's right about that. He's absolutely right. Mostly, I'm looking for the people who are mad, and I'm telling you, these people are going to lead Republicans to winning in 2022. Or, yikes, what year is it? 2026, excuse me. That's what they're going to do. And I got to tell you, this is just wild that they have decided to go down this path. And I'm hoping that they continue going down this path because I am a fan of this kind of behavior. And I definitely think we need to see more of it out of the radical left. It is the quickest way to ensure that they lose. And they keep this up. They keep defending the bad guys. They keep running out there and trying to do all they can to suggest that, hey, the best thing that we can possibly do here is make the argument that these daycares are fine and everything's awesome. Please do that. Please keep that up. Please keep doing what you're doing. Please continue this. And all you will do is make the argument that Democrats probably need to be stopped. Okay? It's as simple as it is. Look, I'm going to try and do something every day. No guarantee, but I told my wife I would try to this year. We'll see how it goes. Appreciate you joining us here. We'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm Dale Jackson. Follow me on all the social media at the Dale Jackson. See you soon.